Hello, welcome or welcome back to the YarnNYarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Here on the channel you'll find me chatting about my adventures in knitting, spinning, crochet and weaving, all of the fibre related things. Today's video I'm going to be doing a little bit of a rummage through my current pile of works in progress and trying to set myself a few priorities for the end of the year. And I'm also going to be very critical of the projects that I do have in my works in progress pile and see if there's any that just aren't sparking my interest anymore, that maybe it might be time just to admit that they're not going to happen and frog them. It's the middle of September as I'm recording this, and on my Ravelry works in progress pile I currently have 33 projects listed as works in progress. I get very much conscious at this time of year that in a few months time I shall be embarking on my next round of 12 cast-ons. So if you happen to be new to the channel, the 12 cast-ons is a make-along that I host every year, whereby between Christmas Eve, the December the 24th, and the end of January, I cast on 12 new projects to set myself up for my coming weeks, months, years worth of making. So I like to try and spend the last few months of the year getting as many of my current sort of batch of works in progress off the needles as I possibly can. I have no problem having all of these works in progress, don't get me wrong. I like to have lots of things to choose from, but it is nice to go into that new batch of cast-ons having sort of mopped up as many of my projects that are close to being finished as possible. So yeah, I thought it was a good time of year to make a video like this and take a little tour of my works in progress. So I've made myself a little list of all of my works in progress, and I've got stacks just off the screen behind me. Let me try and angle this down a little bit. Apologies for moving you around, but I've got all of my works in progress piled up behind me in my little set of shelves here. So I'm going to pull out a basket at a time and we'll go through them. Now I know that some of my works in progress aren't here because obviously I am currently working on a batch of them. So I'm going to cross a few things off the list straight away without showing them to you, which is probably going to be the least interesting part of this video. But if you've watched my September making plans, you will have recently seen these projects anyway. So the first one is my oldest work in progress, which is a pair of Colorwork mitts. It's a Latvian mitt kit that's been on the needles forever and a day. I am determined that they will get finished one day, but they're not in my priority pile. They will not get finished this year. One of the other things that I'm working on this month is my Love Note sweater, and I'm getting some good progress on that this month. I am going to put that in the sort of maybe priority pile. I think it depends on how much I manage to progress that for the rest of this month, but there's a good chance that that could be something that would get finished by the end of the year. It's a fine yarn, but it's on thick needles, so it's a relatively loose gauge, so it does knit up quite quickly. But I'm going to reserve judgment on whether I'm putting that in the priority pile until I finish my progress on that this month. The other two projects that I've got on my sort of current making list are my shift cowl, and that is definitely getting finished this month. It's definitely getting finished this month. Hold me to it. So I'm going to cross that off the list, and that's in the priority pile. And then the fourth project is the 3 Seasons pullover. And again, I feel like I could get relatively close to finishing that this year. So again, I'm going to hold off on making a definite decision as to whether that's in the priority pile until the end of this month. But I've finished the back of that sweater. I've almost finished the front. My aim is to finish the front, to put in the rib collar and to start the sleeves by the end of this month. So we'll see how sort of much progress I manage to make on that as to whether that goes in the priority pile. Other than that, I'm working on socks this month. So I've got a couple of pairs of socks that I've recently cast on. One is a mystery sock, which is the Heritage Surprise sock. A clue a week is being released through September. It's a lovely pattern by my friend Robin of Grumpy Sheep Happy Llama podcast. I'm having a lot of fun with that, and I know that's going to be finished by the end of the month because all of the clues will be out and I am determined to keep up with the clues. I'm also knitting a canoe sock, which is a pattern by Carly Perrins. That's going to be finished too. If not by the end of this month, then definitely by the end of this year. So those are my current sort of focus projects for this month and the ones that I don't have to share with you. So I guess I'm just going to be grabbing some baskets and bags now, and we shall go through the rest of the works in progress and see if we can set some priorities. I'd like to set aside at least 6 projects that I'm going to try and fit into my October, November, December making plans. Hopefully I might be able to squeeze in a few more, but I want to leave room because we don't know what the prompts are going to pop up. But yeah, I'd like to put aside 6 priority projects from my 33 here to try and get finished by the end of the year. Let's do this. Let's see how it goes and see if we can reduce the list by deciding to frog any of these. I've got a couple that I'm thinking might go to the frog pond, so I'm going to rip them out. But I shall make a decision once I actually put my hands on them today and see whether they're sparking my interest or not. There's just a couple that I just don't feel drawn to anytime I do my monthly making plans, and I'm thinking maybe that's just a sign that it's time to let them go and maybe put them aside for now, cast them on again with different yarns or whatever in the future. But yeah, anyway, waffling, making this video longer than necessary as always. Let's grab some projects. First off, living in this beautiful orange patchwork bag that was made for me, I have got my Let the Good Times Roll sweater, which is a pattern by Sylvia Watts Cherry, and this was one of our community picks recently. I'm definitely getting this finished. It's not officially on my September projects list, but I want to put aside at least one day in one of my weekends to try and focus on this and see if I can't push towards getting it finished. For this project, I've knit the 2 sleeves, I think. So these sleeves have been knit to the length recommended in the pattern, but I've left them just hanging out on a couple of cable cords here in case I need to extend them. I knit the back ages ago. So this is the back of the sweater, and this last month, or was it in August? Yeah, in August, the wonderful Amanda from Little Lycac podcast picked this out as my project for my community pick, and when I picked this up, the sweater front was like down here where you can see the times roll, and so I knit the whole of the front of this sweater. So now I've got to sew it together, add in the neckline and attach the sleeves and potentially adjust those sleeves. The thing that I need to do first is weave in all of these ends from this intarsia work on the back. This is definitely on the priority pile, definitely getting finished, and it'll be good to have that done and dusted. It's been on the needles for a good few years now. With any luck, I might have that finished by the end of September. I think the only thing that would stop me finishing that project in a day is if I have to extend the length of the sleeves. If it's just a case of picking up the neckband, sewing, knitting that rib and sewing it up, I can definitely do that in a day. So we shall see. Keep your fingers crossed for me, but one way or another, that project is getting done. Next to randomly come out of the project bag pile, living in this fabulous bag by the lovely Luli, who unfortunately does not make project bags anymore, is my Maywick sweater. So this was another community pick. I think it might have been from June, although don't hold me to that. At this point in time, it's barely a cast on. It's got a bit tangled up, as I'm sure lots of these projects will be, but this is it. So Maywick is a sweater by Goodwin Johnson from the Shetland Trader book. There's no way that's getting finished by the end of 2025, but it's not getting frogged either. So I'm just going to put that project to one side. I've shared it with you. It's staying on my works in progress list, and there's not too much to say about that one. Next up is the Jethro, which is another recent start. I worked on this during July and August, and I've been crocheting up a whole bunch of granny squares. Hasn't made it into an official project bag, it's just hanging out in these plastic bags. I'm using a whole bunch of yarns that I hand spun from an advent calendar that was so very generously and kindly gifted to me by one of our community members, Sharon. So thank you once again, Sharon, for the gift of the wonderful fibre. And I spun the fibre up in Tour de Fleece last year, 2024, and yeah, I've been crocheting up some of those yarns to hopefully go into a Jethro cardigan. The name of the Jethro designer is escaping me at the moment, but it's been a very popular pattern over the last couple of years. It's a granny square cardigan with knit sleeves and a knit bottom band. So yeah, that's definitely not going to get finished this year. There's still a lot of work to go on that one, but it's not going to get flogged either. So that one is just going to be hanging around as I will work on this as and when project. Next up is one of my 12 cast on projects from last year. This is living in a fabulous snowflake bag from my friend Pamela. And this is the Heirloom quilt cardigan. Why can I not remember the names of these designers? All of the projects I will try and link to my Ravelry project pages below. I am knitting a whole bunch of these pieces inspired by a quilt pattern. Once they're knit up, they then get stitched up and sleeves, button band get added. I would like to prioritise this. I worked on this during August and I knit loads of these pieces. It was just such a lovely pattern to work on. I think I've only got 3 more of these to knit and then I get to sew them up and add the sleeves. I'm thinking I might put this in the priority pile because in the scheme of things, there's not a huge amount of work left on that. I mean, there's still a good amount, but I feel like it's relatively close, and given the amount of progress that I made when I worked on it in August, yeah, I'm going to put that in the priority pile to see if we can get that one off the needles and ready to wear this winter. Yeah, let's do it, let's do it. So I'm going to mark that off my list. Where are you, Heirloom? I'm going to put a big star by that one, and I've put a big star by the Let the Good Times Roll. So that's already 2 projects in my wish list of 6 to get finished. If I can get more than 6 finished by the end of the year, even better, but I feel like I always imagine that I've got 48 hours in a day and not 24. I think I have all of this time, and I do have a lot of time. I am very lucky in that fact. I have a lot of time to spend on my creative pursuits, and now that family circumstances are a little bit easier, I'm back to having quite a lot of weekends free and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm always over ambitious, but it helps to keep me striving to get things done. I actually have 2 spinning projects listed on my Ravelry works in progress. I usually only really use Ravelry for crochet and knit projects, and everything else is sort of in my head or in random piles around. But I actually have 2 sort of spinning projects on my Ravelry projects list this time. First is my combo spin, which I started as part of our 12 cast-ons last year. I divided, I think, 4 or 5 braids of fibre, and I'm spinning, or I'm trying to spin up 4 bobbins worth ready to ply. As you can see, I'm halfway through and I've got my fibre sorted for the 3rd bobbin. I was hoping to work on this back in July for Tour de Fleece and I never quite picked it up, so this is still hanging around. There's a lot of spinning to go, and recently I haven't been in as big a spinning mood as other times throughout this year, so this is definitely going to continue as a work in progress, but I'm not going to put it on the priority list. The other spin project on my list is my spin the bin. I haven't really got anything to share with you, to show you for that, but Robin and Sylvie from Grumpy Sheep Happy Llama have had a year-long sort of spin along going on, whereby you pick some braids or some quantities of fibre from your stash sort of near the beginning of the year, and the idea was to work through them. I think I've got a separate video about my sort of spin the bin fibre. I've managed to spin a few quantities of fibre from my bin. I still got quite a few left. Now, of course, the idea is to finish that by the end of the year, so I think if I'm going to prioritise any spinning, it will be my spin the bin stuff. I'm definitely not giving up on the idea of spinning the bin, but I've still got quite a few braids left to spin, so I'm going to mark that as a priority. Okay, time to grab one of these baskets from behind me and we shall raid the project bags in here. So first up I have this project bag. Oh okay, so this is a beautiful gnomes project bag that was given to me by my friend Catherine, and inside here I've got a project that's not even on my official works in progress list, and I feel like I did a video like this last year and this project wasn't on my list then either, and I said I was going to add it and I never did. I've got this like sort of party ring, sort of like, what's it called? Do I have the pattern in here? I guess I've got 34 projects on my works in progress list. I'm definitely not frogging that. Oh, here's the pattern. Here is the pattern. Woolly Paper Chain by Alex from Late Night Knits. So I'm going to throw that to one side to try and remind myself to add that to my projects list. It's not going anywhere, but again, it's not going to be a priority either. Don't forget to add that, and 34 works in progress. Yay. I meant to be reducing this number, not adding to it. Never mind. Okay, Emma Ball Sheepy project bag. This is my Scout shawl, which is a lovely Colorwork shawl project. And this isn't going anywhere either, but neither of it is it going to be a priority. It's a fabulous, fabulous Colorwork shawl pattern. I just love working on this whenever I do get to work on it. It's quite a slow knit for me because it involves a little bit of intarsia and some colour work. As you can see, changing sort of colours part way through the row. But yeah, I am absolutely loving working on that when I have the chance. So that one is staying, but won't be a priority. Ooh, I'm not sure what this is. So this is a bag from the Fawn and the Fox. I don't know if they're still going. I think they were a Canadian maker, although I could be wrong. Oh, this is my Velocore. So this is Velocore by Andrea Mowry, and I cast this on as part of 12 cast-ons last year, and I haven't been able to get back to it since. This is a super, super slow knit. What I would really like to do is add this to one of my making, sort of like monthly making plans, because it would be nice to have worked a little bit on all of the projects that I cast on as part of the 12 cast-ons last year, but of course there is absolutely no way that is getting finished before the end of the year. So yeah, that's gonna hang around for another year, 2, 3, who knows to come. I don't mind if my projects take years. It's all just for fun. And then I've got this beautiful sheet bag from Emma of Eldenwood Craft, and I think this has got, yeah, this has got the yarn in it for my Astra vest. It doesn't actually have the vest itself in. The vest is actually in my mending and adjusting pile. I'm knitting this from the first ever fleece that I processed from fleece to yarn, but I decided to go a little bit rogue when I knit the vest and completely ignored some of the designer's sizing suggestions, and I've ended up with too much fabric like under the arms, so I need to go back and make some adjustments on that. So it's probably too much for my brain to handle. With a little bit of concerted effort, it probably wouldn't take that much time to finish this project, but yeah, it's just probably going to take more brain power than I have at the moment. So that one is definitely hanging around. It's too close to being finished to be frogged, that's for sure. In my Sheeps in Sweaters bag from Emma Ball, I have got my Ziggy Interrupted, which is a crochet wrap project, and this again was one of my 12 cast-ons from last year, and this is my progress so far. I am enjoying that one when I have worked on it. I think I've only worked on it 1 month this year, but I managed to get a fair amount done. I think when I finished the sort of first day of cast on, I'd finished all of these little mini granny squares, or most of them, and then during the month that I worked on this, I managed to add this first zigzag panel. So it's going to be a really beautifully coloured, bright, cosy wrap when I get to work on that one. That's not going anywhere, but it's not going in the priority pile either. Sorry, I'm making a right hash of recording this video. I keep moving out of shot. So that is Ziggy Interrupted. So far I've only got 2 projects, 3 if you include the Spin the Bin on my priority list. I had more projects closer to being finished than it looks like I actually have, unless they're all still lurking. Okay, let's carry on. Let's not worry about it too much. Okay, let's search through this next basket full of project bags, see what we have in here. So this one is a project bag that I made a while ago. I don't really make project bags that much anymore. Okay, so in here I have got a project that I started in the summer from a new yarn line from West Yorkshire Spinners. They released a butterflies inspired yarn collection, and I cast on a Shorty sock, and my intention was to knit myself, I think there was either 6 or 8 colourways in this new range, and I was going to knit myself a pair of Shorty socks from each of the colours. This is as far as I got. 1 sock, and I put my needles into the next ball of yarn. So my idea was to knit 1 sock from each of the colours, and then I could just wear them as mismatched socks if I wanted to, and then go back and knit the second sock in each of the different colours, just to sort of vary things up for myself. But that's as far as I got. So yeah, that's definitely going to be hanging around in the works in progress pile. I've got other socks that are taking priority. and of course I don't necessarily need short socks going into the winter. I will definitely need some more for next summer. I think that's probably a project that will take a back seat until at least the new year. I have this little sheepy drawstring bag, which I think might have been a YarnDale bag at some point. I've never been to YarnDale, but I have a feeling it's a fibre festival here in the UK for anyone who might not be aware. I have a feeling West Yorkshire Spinners did a collaboration with YarnDale for a particular yarn colourway, and I think I bought the colourway and the bag. In here I've got a bunch of crochet granny squares that I have started from some yarns that I got in an advent swap that I did with a group of my lovely friends a couple of years ago. And of course my idea is to make a granny square blanket that will hopefully look somewhat sort of stained glass inspired with the dark frame around the squares. And again, this is definitely a project that I just pick up and put down whenever I feel like working on it. Definitely not a priority. I've got some yarns in this bag that I've picked out, a few more mini skeins sort of ready for when I do want to go back to that project. I mean, blankets barely count as works in progress, do they? At least they don't in my book. So yeah, again, we'll stay on the project list, but definitely not a priority. I have this lovely project bag, which again is one that I made, but I made it from fabric that was sent to me by my lovely friend Lisa. These beautiful red cardinals. We don't get these birds here in the UK. Absolutely love them. Oh, okay, this is a fun one. This is my Lento, which I started for 12 cast-ons this last year. Lento is a really simple sort of raglan sweater design from a 4-ply yarn and a mohair held together. And oh, maybe I should put this, although I've still got a lot of work to do on this. This is another one like Love Note, where it's knit on larger needles, so at a much looser gauge. I think it might even be the same kind of needle size as the Love Note. Maybe I should add that. I don't have that many projects on the priority pile yet. I think I'm going to add this one to the priority pile, because I feel like once I get going on this again, it should be a relatively quick knit. So yeah, Lento, I'm going to add it to the priority pile. I reckon I could get that finished by the end of the year if I put a bit of effort into it. Final project bag from this particular basket, another one that I made myself. Oh, this is Elton. Okay. Oh, all of the mohair projects coming out. So this is a pattern by Johi Locatelli. I cast this on for 12 cast-ons a couple of years ago. I managed to work on this once earlier on this year, and I think that's really the first time I've worked on it since I actually cast it on like 2 or 3 years ago. I know, terrible. But yeah, I made some good progress on this. It's a really nice sort of spring summery kind of colour scheme. I'm using this Koi Pond, I think it is, colour from Caroline of Colourful Creativity, paired with a really neutral sort of pale grey sort of silver mohair. This is not knit on quite as thick needles as the Lento and the Love Note, although again it is a relatively loose gauge. I think this is either a 3.5 or a 4mm needle. The Lento and the Love Note are sort of 6 or 6.5mm needles. So yeah, this is definitely on the keep pile, but it's not in the priority pile. I had loads of fun working on that one. I think it was just as we were going into spring summer, so it felt like the perfect time of year to work with those joyful colours in that yarn. So yeah, I have good memories from working on my Elton from earlier this year. Goodness, I think we've got at least halfway through, if not more. Yeah, we're definitely further than halfway through my projects, and I haven't found any to knock off the list yet. Oh dear. Behind me I've got 2 shelves with sort of project bags stuffed into them. I've done the whole of the top shelf. I still have got the bottom shelf to go. I've also done a few sort of random project bags that were hanging around, but I feel like I might have more project bags than I've got projects on my list. I hope that's not the case. I hope I'm not going to be adding to this by doing this exercise. Anyway, in this lovely project bag by Emma of Eldenwood Crafts, I've got the Revo sweater or t-shirt that I cast on this summer as part of Kirsty from Kirsty Knits and Sew, had like a t-shirt knit along, and I managed to get a good way. It's got a bit screwed up in the project bag. I managed to get a good way through this project. I finished the back almost, I think. So again, I've left this on a cable because I'm not sure whether I want to add length. I think I've knit to where it says to knit to in the pattern, but I don't know if I want to add any extra length to it. And I'm about halfway, I would say. Halfway down the front. Where are the shoulders? So that's the shoulders. Yeah, probably more than halfway down the front of that. I'm going to put that in the priority pile because I think another month's worth of making on that and it will be done or close to being done. So Revo is going on the priority pile. So that makes 1, 2, 3, 4 now. All sweaters. I can do it, I can do it. Okay, I have this huge project bag. It's a real lovely sort of pillow style project bag that was made for me by Pamela. And in here I've got my baseline, which, is that another pattern by Amber O'Brien? No, Susan Summers, I think. I can't remember. I'll try, as I say, I'll link everything in the description box, all of the links to my Ravelry project pages. And this again was one of my 12 cast-ons from this last year. I'm knitting this cardigan. It's a lovely sort of sideways construction. So I've more or less done one half of the cardigan. I've just started working across the back for the other side of this. I'm using a combination of my hand spun yarn and some beautiful Scout DK by Kelbourne Woolens. I really love this. This is a double knit sort of weight yarn, so it does knit up quite quickly, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get that one done by the end of the year, so I don't think that can go on the priority list. I love working on that though. In another self-made project bag, this project kind of makes me smile every time I pick it up. So I think 2 Januaries ago I started participating in Carrie from my wool mittens, had a spin to knit sock along, and I spun up my yarn and I never quite got around to casting on the socks. I'm going to be knitting a pair of socks inspired by a sock pattern from the Knits About Winter book by Emily Foden, but I haven't cast on. But I'm keeping this in my works in progress list just to remind me not to forget about this yarn that I spun specifically for this project. So it's staying on the works in progress pile again. But again, it's not going to be a priority because I've got other socks that I want to get finished before that. And then I've got this project bag, Baram U, just a tote bag. Okay, this is my last long cardigan. Absolutely gorgeous fisherman's rib pattern. And I'm knitting this from some super special yarn that was gifted to me by my lovely friend Ange. This is some Newterdon yarn. Oh, just love the colour of this. It's just a really sort of complex, sort of heathered, almost marled kind of colour. It's lovely, absolutely lovely. That's not going anywhere, but I've got a long way to go on that. So again, it just can't go on the priority pile. There's no way I'm getting that finished before the end of 2025. Okay, I've switched the angle of the camera around a little bit just to make it easier for me to get into the last few projects which I was sat directly in front of. First up, I have got my northeasterly blanket, which I started earlier on this year, I think. The pattern was gifted to me and I was challenged to cast it on straight away, and I've made good progress on this. I have been using all sorts of mini skeins and leftovers to knit on this blanket this year. This is a project that just kind of rumbles along in the background and probably will do for the next few years, I think. I'm using up, as I say, mini skeins, rainbow colours, to add a couple of rows of each colour to a northeasterly. Definitely staying on the works in progress pile, definitely not a priority. I've got my caribou sweater. There's a lot of sweaters in this list, isn't there? Which is probably why I've got so many works in progress. It's not going to stop me casting on more sweaters for next year's round of 12 cast-ons. I love knitting sweaters, as you can probably tell, but of course they take longer to knit and therefore tend to hang around a little bit longer because I'm always switching between projects. Anyway, this is Caribou, knit from Letlopi yarn, Plutalopi. It's got these beautiful sort of deer head motif. I cast this on not last year but the year before for our 12 cast-ons. As you can see, I haven't made a ton of progress. I think, I mean, not that it's an issue, but the thing that stops me picking this up, depending on the time of the year, is this is quite thick woolly yarn. So this would be a good one to work on during the winter months. But definitely not going to be able to get this finished anytime soon. Not sure how long this video is going to be because I keep recording in sections and then moving around as I shuffle around project bags. But I promise I've got 2 more sort of baskets full of project bags to go, so we are getting near the end. So in this project bag, which is a John Arbon tote, which was a lovely gift to me from my friend Sam, I have my Raya in this, which is a hand spun sweater project, and I love working on this. Well, I say it's hand spun, it's a mix between hand spun and commercial yarn, which I do quite often do. It's very tricky to share this with you because it's a sideway knit sweater and it's an oversized sweater, so it's quite long. The blue and the pink yarns are my hand spun, and then the sort of browny colour is the commercial yarn. This is such a fun pattern with a fringing on the bottom. I have no idea how I'm going to like wearing this, how often I'll wear it, but it's just such a fun knit. I've knit the front. I have just turned to knit back across the back. So still a lot of knitting to go. And this is a fairly slow knit because you are stopping to change your yarns all the time. Part of me would love to prioritise this because I really want to have the finished garment to wear and see how I enjoy wearing it with the fringing and everything. And I love the beautiful colours. Most of these hand spuns, I think all of these hand spuns were from the sort of fibre advent swap that I've been doing with my dear friend Lisa the last few years, and I picked out a whole bunch of blues and threw in a few sort of pinky colours for contrast. So it always makes me smile when I work on this project because, yeah, I just think a lot about all of the time and effort that Lisa puts into making the advents, and yeah, just our friendship and what that means to me. So yeah, I love working on this project so much. Yeah, oh gosh, I really want to, do you know what? I'm going to add it into the priority pile. I have a feeling that it won't get done, but if I can possibly pick this for 1 or 2 of my sort of making months coming up, I know it would just bring me so much joy. So yeah, I'm adding it. You can't tell me otherwise. Okay, Gnome project bag from Emma Ball, and this is housing my Christmas sock cast on from last year. And if you watched the 12 cast ons last year, you might remember that I counted 9 pairs of socks as 1 cast on, so I made a little bit of a rod for my own back. But this is definitely going in the priority pile. I want these socks finished by the end of the year. I have completely finished 3 pairs of socks, which I know isn't great given that we're in September, but I am also on the 2nd sock for 2 more pairs of the socks, and I think I've got one more pair cast on, and then I've got these 3 balls left. I've got essentially, let's say 3, 4, 5 pairs of socks to finish in 4 months, which I think I can do. I'm pretty confident, she says. So that is definitely going in the priority. Christmas socks must be done by the end of the year. You heard it here. In this tote bag, which was a gift from Helen all the way from Tasmania, I love this bag, I have my, what is this called, the Deep Field by Marina Skewer, and this was one that I cast on last year, and again, not a huge amount of work done on it, but it's knit on 4-ply yarn, fine yarn, on some small needles, and on the first day of cast on last year I managed to get some ribbing done. This is a Colorwork vest pattern, so I would really, a bit like when I mentioned the Velour, I would really like to work on this before the end of the year. It's not going to get finished, but it'd be really nice to pick up. I think it's just the Velour and the Deep Fields that I cast on last year that haven't been touched since the day that I cast them on. So yeah, it'd be really nice to kind of add this to one of my making plans months as well, but we shall see. Final basket of project bags, and this one must have all of the projects in that I'm thinking about frogging because so far I haven't come across any of those. First up is a project that I am going to frog. So this one I cast on a few months ago. It's the Colour As You Go scarf, and I cast this on after I was so kindly gifted the 52 weeks of scrap knitting project pattern book, and I started this. It's a really fun sort of really skinny scarf where you combine a 4-ply yarn with some different colours of mohair to give you sort of different sort of patterns and textures. but I used the recommended needle in the pattern and my scarf was just ending up to be too skinny, and I intended to recast this on in a larger needle size. I just haven't got round to that, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to sort of prioritise it over the next sort of few months. So I think I'm actually just going to frog this one for the time being. I do still want to knit this scarf, but given that I'm going back to the beginning anyway, I just feel like I'm going to take it off my works in progress list for now, and we'll cast it on another time when I have a little bit more time to sort of concentrate on it and get it properly underway. So that is one project that is going to go officially to the frog pond, and I'm going to get that off of my list. Next up, I have my bad robot mitts. This is living in a lovely Nomi project bag. This project I cast on for a Patreon project vlog. I had intended to finish this vlog like back in the summer and then of course life got in the way. I ended up doing one part. I thought it was going to be like one complete video, and then I ended up splitting it in two, and I just haven't prioritised the making for the second part of that video. So yeah, this is the Bad Robot, inspired by Daleks from the Doctor Who series, a pattern from this Geek Knits book, and I'm actually going to be destashing this book once I've knit this pattern, which was kind of like the theme for the vlog, going through some of my older pattern books and seeing if there was anything that I could cast on before I get rid of the books, before I send the books off to new homes. So I should really prioritise these so that I can get the second part of that vlog finished, but I just don't know if I'm going to be able to or not. I'm going to keep that in the maybe pile, like the maybe prioritised pile. It would be good to have a few sort of smaller projects, because I think everything other than the socks in my priority pile are sort of bigger projects. But yeah, I just don't know if I'm going to have the time to do that. So we shall see, we shall see. We're down to the last two projects. I'm so sorry if this has been a really long video. I hope you are enjoying this little tour of my works in progress pile. In this fabulous seagulls bag that was sent to me, made for me by my lovely friend Susan. This is the Cozy Canvas shawl, which I cast on last year as part of the 12 cast-ons using some hand spun yarn. The pattern is by Marceline Smith of Hey Brown Berry YouTube channel, and I love the pattern, I love the yarn, but I just really struggled to pick the right needle size for the thickness of the yarn. And every time, so I think I got to this stage and I realised I'm going to have to rip out and start again. And I think I started this like 2 or 3 times on the day of cast on. And I'm just kind of over it a little bit. There's nothing wrong with the yarn. I love the yarn and I love the pattern. Every time I've done my monthly making plans this year and this project could have been potentially picked, I'm just like, oh, I can't do it. I can't deal with it. So yeah, I think I have come to the conclusion that this project and this pattern and this yarn combo just aren't meant to be, and this project is just not meant to be at this particular time. So this one is also going off to the frog pond, sadly, and the yarn is going to go back into my hand spun stash, and maybe I will cast these on again another time, but just not for now, just not for now. And then last but by no means least, in this absolutely gorgeous project bag made for me by Christine, one of our wonderful YarnNYarns community members, I have my Brenier sweater, which is a pattern by Fibre Tail, no, not Fibre Tails, is it on the, oh, it is Fibre Tails. And I cast this on maybe like 3 years ago, maybe even 4 years ago now. And it's a lovely pattern. It's this herringbone stitch across the top of the sweater. And then it goes down into a sort of plain body. And I'm using some thick skein yarn, some beautiful, beautiful worsted weight yarn, I think this is. I knit the whole top of this sweater and then realised my gauge was wildly out and it's not as oversized as I wanted it to be, or yeah, it's just not working up to the right size, so I'd have to rip this out and start again. This herringbone stitch is really quite hard on my hands, and given that this has been on the needles for, like I say, 2 or 3 years now, and I just haven't gravitated back towards it, again, not really any fault of the pattern, not really any fault of the yarn, I love them both, I'm just kind of not in the right headspace for it. I don't want to start this again. I think, although I've had it hanging around in my works in progress pile for the longest time, I think it's time to finally admit that I'm not going to be getting this finished. I'm not going to be gravitating towards it anytime soon. So I think it's time just to frog this project, and maybe at some point in the future it will get cast on again. Maybe I will use different yarn, or maybe I shall use the yarn for a completely different project. But yeah, I am admitting that this one is not going to see the light of day, so time to frog, which seems like a bit of a sad note to end this video on. I'm just going to check that I have covered all of my projects. I have. Oh dear, I should have started with that basket, shouldn't I? It feels like a bit of a sad note to end on my 3 projects that I'm going to frog. I don't know why they ended up all being in that same basket. I think that was coincidence. Those are all my, what I thought was 33 works in progress, turned out to be 34. I am going to be frogging 3, so I've taken it back down to 31. I've got 2 pairs of socks that I know are going to get finished shortly. However, I've also got 2 pairs of socks that I need to cast on, so that doesn't really help me in my works in progress tally. I have set aside a whole bunch of sweaters and some socks, so Let the Good Times Roll, Raya, Heirloom, Lento, the Revo are all hopefully going to be on my hit list to try and get finished by the end of the year, and then also my Christmas socks as well, so we shall see. We'll see how that goes. I feel like it would be nice to finish the year with a few bigger finished projects. I finished a few things near the beginning of the year, and then I feel like I've finished quite a lot of pairs of socks but not really much else this year, but that's just life, isn't it? The way things are. I should be getting my shift cowl finished this month as well. So yeah, let's hope that we can push through, channel the finishing energy, and get these works in progress down before I have to cast on again. It would be really nice if I could get down to 25, I think, by the end of the year. Less would be even better, but given that most of my works in progress seem to be sweaters, I don't know how realistic that is going to be, but we shall see. We shall strive to make as much progress as possible on as many projects as possible, but with the emphasis on like concentrating on the few in that priority pile, to see if we can't just knock a few of those out before the end of the year. If you have watched the entirety of this video, thank you so much for sticking with me. Let me know in the comments below, are you going to be trying to end the year with a bit of a finishing frenzy? Should we have a finish it up make along for the last 3 months of the year? Let me know in the comments below if you would like that, and perhaps we can encourage each other to finish projects. We can definitely get something going for that if there's enough interest, I think. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know if there's anything in my project pile that you think I can finish, should finish before the end of the year. Cheer me along, pick your favourite from my priorities pile, and see if we can't encourage each other to finish a few things. I will of course be back again soon with some more making content, so I hope you will join me for the next video. Until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.